June 2026, the world stops, billions of people turn on their TVs, and the biggest football tournament in history is finally here. 3 countries, 48 teams, 104 matches, everything about this World Cup is bigger than anything we've ever seen. But here's the question nobody at FIFA wants to hear: what if bigger doesn't mean better? Because behind the incredible stadiums, the record-breaking plans, and the promises of a new era for football, there are problems already raising concerns. Fans are worried about the cost, experts are questioning the format, and many people still wonder whether this tournament can recreate the magic that made previous World Cups unforgettable. For FIFA, this isn't just another World Cup, it's a billion-dollar gamble. A gamble that could redefine football forever or expose the limits of how big the world's biggest sporting event can become. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the 2026 FIFA World Cup may be heading toward its greatest triumph or its biggest crisis. For nearly a century, the FIFA World Cup has been football's ultimate prize. Every 4 years, nations stop everything to watch their heroes chase glory. The World Cup isn't just a tournament, it's an event that creates legends. Pelé became immortal because of it, Maradona became a symbol because of it, and Zidane, Ronaldo, Messi, and countless others cemented their place in football history because of it. But in 2026, everything changes. For the first time ever, the tournament will be hosted by 3 countries: the United States, Canada, and Mexico. For the first time ever, 48 teams will participate, and for the first time in history, there will be 104 matches. Nothing remotely close to this has ever existed. FIFA believes this expansion represents the future. A future with more countries, more fans, more opportunities, and more football. On paper, it sounds perfect. But football has taught us one thing: sometimes the biggest ideas carry the biggest risks. The World Cup has always been difficult to reach. Only 32 teams could qualify. Entire generations of talented players never experienced the tournament, and many nations spent decades chasing a dream that never came true. FIFA wanted to change that. By expanding to 48 teams, 16 additional nations can participate, more countries from Africa, more countries from Asia, and more opportunities for smaller football nations. For millions of fans around the world, this is fantastic news. Imagine supporting your national team for decades and finally seeing them qualify. Imagine the pride, the celebrations, and the unforgettable memories. Expansion gives hope to countries that previously had almost no chance. And from FIFA's perspective, it also grows football's global audience. More nations participating means more viewers mean greater commercial opportunities, and greater commercial opportunities mean more money, a lot more money. But this is where the debate begins, because not everyone believes that bigger automatically means better. Every World Cup has an atmosphere. You can feel it. Months before the tournament starts, excitement builds everywhere. Fans count down the days. National teams dominate conversations, and social media explodes. The World Cup becomes impossible to ignore. But for many people, the build-up to 2026 feels different. Not bad, just different. One major reason is geography. North America is enormous. The host cities are spread across huge distances. Traveling from one match to another can require flights lasting several hours. Following your national team throughout the tournament could become incredibly expensive. In previous tournaments, supporters often traveled together, moving between cities and creating one giant football festival. In 2026, recreating that same feeling becomes much harder, and without that atmosphere, something important could be lost, because the World Cup isn't only about what happens on the pitch, it's about what happens outside the stadiums too. Then there is the issue everyone is talking about: money, flights, hotels, transportation, food, and eventually tickets. Attending a World Cup has never been cheap, but North America could become one of the most expensive World Cups ever. For supporters coming from Africa, South America, Asia, and parts of Europe, costs may become overwhelming. Imagine finally seeing your country qualify. You've waited years for this moment. Maybe your nation has never played in a World Cup before, and then you realize that attending could cost several months of your salary. That is the fear many supporters have, because football is known as the people's game. The magic comes from ordinary fans, the songs, the chants, the emotions, and the passion. Without those supporters, the World Cup simply doesn't feel the same. And FIFA understands this, because no amount of money can replace authentic football atmosphere. The expansion to 48 teams remains one of the most debated decisions in football history. Supporters love the inclusiveness, more countries deserve opportunities, and more players deserve to experience football's biggest stage. But critics raise important questions. Will all 104 matches feel meaningful? Will fans remain engaged for such a long tournament? Could the quality of some games suffer? Part of what makes the World Cup special is its intensity. Every match feels like life or death, every mistake can end a dream, and every goal can become history. But when tournaments become larger and longer, maintaining that intensity becomes extremely difficult. Nobody truly knows what this new World Cup will feel like, because football has never attempted anything on this scale, and that uncertainty makes 2026 fascinating. This isn't simply another World Cup, it's an experiment. Despite all these concerns, writing off the 2026 World Cup would be a huge mistake, because the potential is extraordinary. The United States has some of the largest stadiums on Earth, Mexico lives and breathes football, and Canada's football culture is growing rapidly. Billions of people will watch, new stars will emerge, unexpected nations will surprise the world, underdogs will make history, heroes will be born. Because every World Cup creates moments nobody can predict, a dramatic comeback, an impossible goal, or a penalty shootout that stops the hearts of millions, football has an incredible ability to surprise us. And perhaps this World Cup will become unforgettable for all the right reasons. Perhaps the concerns disappear the moment the first whistle blows. Perhaps this tournament exceeds every expectation, because football has done that before, many times. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is more than just another football tournament. It's the biggest experiment in the history of the sport, an experiment in expansion, an experiment in accessibility, and an experiment in whether football can become bigger while preserving the magic that made the World Cup special. The concerns are real, the risks are enormous, but so is the opportunity. Because if FIFA gets this right, the 2026 World Cup could become the greatest tournament football has ever seen. And if it gets it wrong, it could prove that bigger isn't always better. One thing is certain, when June 2026 finally arrives, billions of people will be watching, and together, the world will discover whether FIFA's biggest dream became football's greatest celebration or its biggest gamble. But what do you think? Will the 2026 World Cup be the greatest tournament in football history, or is FIFA taking a risk that's simply too big? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more football stories and documentaries. See you in the next video.